guys, my name is Jo Rogers and welcome to the SME Stories or SME Insights. I'm here with Zameer Nazarali. Hi, Zameer.
Hey, Jo, how's it going?
And he is the CEO and founder of Simply Group Limited. Welcome. Thank you so much for coming along. Today, we're going to be talking to Zameer about being an entrepreneurial lawyer and what that means to him, his route into or out of or around the legal profession. And we're going to find out a little bit more about what being an entrepreneurial lawyer means to him. So, Zameer, over to you. Why don't you tell us a little bit about your career to date? That's probably the best way of seeing it.
Sure, fantastic. Well, thanks for having me along as well.
Welcome.
Excellent. So yeah, I had a slightly different journey to the typical aspiring lawyer. So my story really began at City University, where I'd done my LLB, and then at that time, training contracts were very difficult to get hold of. Not that they've become any easier now. But I took a gamble and I self-funded my LPC, thinking that might help things. And in and along the way, I mean, unfortunately, it didn't lead to getting that law firm role and the training contract, but I stumbled onto sort of a consulting role at a music publishing firm. So that was my first real job, if you like. I'd done like a summer intern working on their contracts of employment the summer before. They were quite impressed, so they offered me a job when I'd finished my LPC, so I took them up on the offer and started to develop my understanding of employment law and HR within a family-run business, which was quite cool. And so yeah, I spent a couple of years there, dealt with a few other bits as well, a bit of IP, and also a bit of health and safety. But HR and employment law was the sort of the focus. But as you can imagine, small business, so I had an expiry date there. But that sort of piqued my interest in the world of consulting. So I thought, well, if I can do that here, why can't I do that elsewhere? And I went on the hunt for HR consultancies, and very fortunately landed a paralegal role at an HR consultancy. It was a really, really good time. I had a fantastic mentor there who helped transform me from the textbook lawyer to someone who could, really apply employment law and HR in real situations with real clients and not just advising from afar. My role there was sort of helping with the compliance, the HR team that were client facing, and also things like preparing tribunals, updating the internal consultants on employment law updates. So it was a really good grounding. And then I got an itch to be more client facing. Which wasn't available there. So I moved on to an ER consultancy within the RBS group. And that really threw me in the front line.
Jump then. You went, most people go from corporate down to small business. You did the opposite. You went, I'm going from small business, I'm going from family firm, and then you were like, I'm going to jump up to corporate now.
Absolutely.
Transition in a minute, but I'm interested.
Yeah, no, definitely. And yeah, just about the role first. So it was an ER consultant role. So really threw me into the deep end. And my manager there, I would say, was the single most influential person on my career to date. She really transformed me then from being able to have all this great technical knowledge, but being able to step into the shoes of the client that you're dealing with. And so began my journey of becoming an ER consultant and what we used to call then the business partner approach. So it was hand in hand with the client, the owner of the business, understanding, walking in their shoes, and seeing how my advice would impact their business and them as an individual. So it was a fantastic journey. And yeah, great question in terms of the jump from small business to corporate. So yeah, as you go through your education and through your career, there's always those shiny, bright lights in the corporate world. And, I really fancied giving it a crack and seeing what it was all about. I was quite fortunate that at that time, the part of the group I was in was actually not as stringent as the rest of the bank. So there was a lot of freedom and flexibility in the way we worked and operated. But as with any large corporation, as things move on, they will try and systemize and structure things. And obviously then at that point, I wasn't enjoying that mechanical structure as much, which is not to say it's bad, but it's just not for everyone. So that was the point which triggered. I had a change in life. I had my second child on the way. Had to take some time out because my wife was having a tough time with her pregnancy, and started to think about what my life would look like going on from there. And that was 7 years ago. So I was just past 30, built up some experience, and I thought, you know what, I could do this. I could do this myself.
You did this all before 30 then? This is like your career before 30?
Yeah, so I think I just crossed 30 when I reached
Wow.
RBS. So yeah. So it was quite interesting. And yeah, as any naive, wannabe business person, you think you can do everything yourself better and take over the world.
Of
And
course you
off I
can.
went.
And it's going to be really easy and you're going to have loads of free time and it's
Absolutely.
a lot quicker than anybody else.
So yeah, it was quite a journey and quite a transition from there onwards. But yeah, not too bad. We're still here 7 years later.
Tell me about that transition, because I mean, particularly around risk, I'm really interested in this transition between thinking like a lawyer to thinking like a business owner. What did you need in order to make that transition? Are you still making that transition?
Fantastic question. I think, yeah, you're always on a journey, and I would definitely say I'm still developing, still learning. There's so much I need to discover as a business owner and as an entrepreneur. But yeah, it's a really interesting transition that I did have, because I always believed that I would be happy and that in my element as the technician, so as the deliverer of service. And still till today, I love it. I love sitting with clients, advising, strategizing. It really gives me a buzz. But especially in the last 3.5 years, I think I've gone from being the lawyer to being the entrepreneur. And what it took was getting the right business coach and the right mentor and unlocking that side of me. So I built a foundation in the business, and we got to a point, but I just couldn't go to the next level, and I couldn't understand what I was missing. And I realized I was lacking some experience. And finding that right business mentor helped me untap that part of my mind and sort of translate it, get it out of my head into a vision. And yeah, since then, it's just been a phenomenal change in the way I look at things. So before, it would all be about the delivery and what it was, a short-term vision. And now it's about developing values and developing a message. Of course, you're in business to earn the rewards and make the money, look after your family and invest in your life. But there's a true passion that comes as well through that. And you really want to see your baby grow into this influential being, if you like, that can add a mark and leave a really positive impact. So yeah, it was a great journey. I think, it helps that I've always been quite open-minded, and I've always wanted to self-develop and been able to see my gaps and my weaknesses and try and address them. So yeah, that was a fantastic, fun, and still ever changing journey.
You've mentioned that a few times, actually. Mentors, influencers, people that have, I don't know if they've thrown you in the deep end, but they've definitely given you the experience that you needed, or asked you the questions to tip you tip you over the edge. I don't mean like tip you into a different way of thinking.
Yeah.
What sort of things in this instance did your mentor share with you that kind of went, oh, I see it. I'm not got to work on the business, I'm working in the business? Or what were the beliefs or the actions that you started taking afterwards that made the difference?
Absolutely. So the first thing she did was get me in touch with my why.
Interesting. I didn't think she was a woman. I thought it was going to be a man. So there you go.
Well, to be fair, I had tried a few different business coaches, and funnily enough, they were all men up to that point. But they were all sort of thrusted onto me by circumstance, by referral, by a connection. So I'd never gone on the hunt for one. And at this point, I actually went onto LinkedIn, looked up business coaches, shortlisted 20, and then it took me 3 months to find the right person.
That's a top tip for any business coach out there. There are people who are actually doing this search,
Yeah,
looking for a business coach. So yeah,
absolutely.
that's a shout out there to everybody that does that. And what were your criteria? What did you make a decision you needed?
So it boiled down to one thing. I needed the person to get me. It sounds really simple, but it's not that hard. It's not that simple to find. And yeah, I spent a lot of time talking to various coaches along that way, and the click just wasn't there. And when I met the coach that I'd settled on, within 10 minutes of our coffee meeting, I knew she was going to be my coach. And obviously I didn't tell her that because we still had to negotiate pricing. And she's still a very dear friend now as well. But yeah, within 10 minutes, she got me straight away. And the thing that changed it for me was she didn't focus on what my business was. She focused on what it is I really wanted to achieve. What was my why? What was my message? What was my movement? And she really worked hard on changing my mindset, first and foremost. She helped me with a lot of the structuring as well. And you know, that's very, very important. But she helped me create visions. So for example, a very simple one. She said, look, what do you need to deliver a top class service? That's not just you. So I started going off on one. She said, no. There's the whiteboard. Go and draw it for me. It's like, oh, what do you want me to draw? So she's like, what is your ideal team? So I did it. I drew it. And she said, right, that is your vision for the next 12 months. You're going to have that team in 12 months. You need to keep it in front of you, live it, breathe it. You've got to understand it. You've got to value it, and you've got to fight for it. And I kid you not, 10 months later, we had that structure in place. And it was great. It was really great. So it's, yeah, eye-opening.
Look, I know you have a family, and I'm interested to hear how you manage family life, particularly now, but not necessarily now. But like, how do you manage the balance? Because I believe, you know, I get what it takes to build an ideal team. Like, how have you managed to balance the two?
Yeah, it's been a juggling act and a bit of a transition, but I think from day one, so I had embraced remote working while I was at the RBS group. So that segment of the group, they were all about, you know, working remotely because we had to travel all over the place in Southeast England. So, you know, working from home was quite normal culture. And I really enjoyed that for my 4.5 years there. When I started my business, I decided that was the model I wanted to adopt. And I was going to start as I meant to go on. Now, yes, it might have made things a little bit longer winded. But for me, that was really a core value of how I wanted to build my business. So, but then you have to find the medium, because as your business grows and you get more responsibilities and more opportunities, there are times when sacrifices have to be made. So you need to then at that point say, you know, how can I get the best of both without beating myself up for not being able to manage everything all the time perfectly and in balance. And I think that was a key thing. People would always say, you know, you got to find the balance. I don't believe that exists, and it doesn't exist for a reason, because there is no such thing as balance. Balance is going to be what you make it. So what do you prioritize, and what are your proportions? And it constantly changes. You're never going to have, you know, 6 months of balance. It just doesn't work. Life is not that straightforward. It's not that fluid.
Perfect balance is impossible.
Absolutely. And that's the perfection of it. It's the imperfect balance we're looking for.
It's the imperfect balance. I love that. And how are things during the lockdown at the time of filming? We're still, what are we, 8 weeks in or 9 weeks in?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. It has, so yeah, if we look on a business front, it's been a very easy transition. We were cloud-based from day one. So I attribute that to my father. He's quite IT tech savvy, so he'd always instilled that in me in life. So as I went through my initial first year, I detest paperwork, to be honest, which is a weird thing for a lawyer to say. But yeah, it drives me bananas. So I thought, how can I cut my paperwork down and you know, create things that are going to be future-proofed? So cloud-based tech was always our way forward. In the last 18 months, we made sure that we implemented enough tools and processes that our team could run remotely. So we have a remote virtual team. We have a headquarters in terms of the office. We have regular meetings there, but we'd embrace things like WhatsApp, Zoom in the business. So for us, that transition was very seamless. The team could crack on one day to the next, nothing changed. But on the personal level, a totally different story. So, you know, as I said, I've always...
It's impossible.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you know, I've always, you know, embraced home working and, you know, being around with the kids and wife and the family in general. But when you're all in one place all the time, that's a different story altogether. And, you know, embracing things like home learning and homeschooling and trying to also have an impact and help out and, you know, be part of that journey, which is really, really important. Being visible to your kids it's hard to then, you know, not be involved. But at the same time, our work went, sorry, our work went through the roof because, as you can imagine, businesses were in total disarray. So furlough and layoffs and redundancies and what's going to happen and, you know, what do we do? And so we've never actually been so busy ever. And it's such a positive thing that we could reach out in difficult circumstances and try and help our clients and people around us. And that became our mantra. Whoever comes through the door, you know, chargeable or not, we're here to help. And I think it was the day after lockdown, we had a Zoom call with my team and I said, guys, this is our time to step up and shine. This is what we've all worked for to get to this point, is to be impactful in difficult circumstances. So then the challenge was, how do you, you know, deal with crazy work days and be there for everyone, but also try and be present at home? And it took a while, to be honest. It took a couple of weeks to really try and find that balance. But yeah, we're slowly getting there, and it's, you know, try to manage the day a bit better now. And I think things are starting to calm down slightly as well. So I've been able to manage expectations a bit better as well. But yeah, it's been a journey, but now quite enjoying it, to be honest. It's a really fun environment.
Great. I was going to ask you how homeschooling going, because I had an interesting conversation today about the kind of the difference in homeschooling and you know, father getting involved with homeschooling, and not that it's about being a father, but about his experience and the sorts of things that he's able to teach his child. Like, interesting. Whereas I know a lot of other people are like, what, homeschooling? Just sit in front of the laptop. So yeah, the different experiences are really interesting. What's your experience been?
Yeah, so I think one of the things that I've always valued is being part of the home life, part of the journey. And I didn't want to just float away because my businesses are busy and, you know, that part of life has taken off and then forget. And you know, I'm in a really blessed and privileged position that my work and my business and my experiences have allowed me to do that. Because there are people out there whose jobs don't allow, or their businesses don't allow them. It's just, you know, I'm sure everyone would love to do it, but just not always possible. So that's a massive blessing. So what we've tried to do is sort of plan the day, and I've tried to sort of insert myself and say, look, this work, I'd love to get involved. It's great break time as well, and the time to connect with the kids. So that's been the challenge initially, was feeling that I couldn't be there because I was so busy, and you know, a bit of guilt actually. But then it was like, you know, my wife's been amazing as well, leading that charge, and, you know, obviously not putting the pressure and saying, look, go and do what you have to do. But then there's that responsibility that you feel, no, you know what, it's a partnership. So trying to insert, it's not perfect, I'll be honest. She does the lion's share, but being able to dip in and out has been really, really fun.
Someone's got to, and you're doing a lion's share in your business, and that's a partnership, isn't it?
Exactly.
That's a true joint venture.
Yeah, exactly. Teamwork makes the dream work, as they say.
Okay, well, I've got one kind of big question, but I've actually got two final questions for you. One is about the idea of an entrepreneurial lawyer, if you wanted to, if you were to look back at your younger self and say, this is what you're going to do, what would you do differently?
Oh, that's a really good question. I think I would have spent more time understanding the mechanics of business from the clients that I was. So I had a great opportunity in interacting with a variety of different clients from all sectors and all industries. I guess my focus then was obviously trying to impress the client and give them the best advice possible, which is the natural thing to do. But I think I would have spent a bit more time talking to them on a business level, garnering their experiences and understanding their journeys, and really understanding how they've reached where they have. I think that's something I take a lot of time doing now with my current clients. So I could have a half an hour, 40-minute conversation with someone, and we don't talk about HR at all because we're just sharing experiences. And that has been so educational, so educational. And, the advice doesn't always fit because the businesses might be different, but you get a lot of values and a lot of, understanding on the steps they've taken and the decisions they've made. And that's invaluable. You can't learn that from a textbook or sometimes not even from a mentor. That's something that's spice of life. You're learning different people's experiences.
I totally can relate to that, because that's kind of why when I'm having these conversations, I think I've said to you before, there's a sort of inspiration that happens either peer to peer, or when you're hearing from somebody who's more experienced than you, you're like, oh, and it's not a mentor, but it's not a mentoring experience where somebody's walking you through something, but there's just an insight that there's a great insight that comes from that, and it's juicy, and it kind of lights you up again, doesn't it? Like, oh, you did that. Oh, I can see how that would work. Like what you guys do with your HR, similar sort of way we work with the legal. And so it's you did, that's the way you did it. Oh, I'm sure I've written in fact, I've written top class vision down here. So, taking this from this conversation, and I watch it, and I love that. And the second question is, how and what are the big issues that your current clients or current new clients coming in are seeing during lockdown, and what are some of the HR issues that seem to be coming up? Maybe just two or three that seem to be the most critical.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'd actually sort of categorize them into three folds. There was the initial wave, which was, how is this crisis going to grip my business, my industry, my client's bank? And how do I react to that? So obviously there's things like, and what we did right at the beginning from the outset was reach out to all our clients and say, just calm down, just wait, don't make any snap decisions. Apparently there's government guidelines coming out. This was, the last few days of March. We said, just stay calm and let's just see where this goes. So don't make any rash redundancies, layoffs, don't unsettle your team right now. Get through to the end of March. It's a matter of 5-7 days. Your business is not going to fall over because you're paying salaries in March. And let's see where we are 1st of April. So that was the first message that went out. And I think that was well received. And then so part of phase one was then getting a grasp of things like furlough and the job retention scheme as a whole, understanding the spirit behind it, and then helping clients implement it in the right way. So furlough, the tool of furlough, as I would call it, did not preclude redundancies and layoffs happening. And I don't think it ever would have been intended to, but it was a way to try and, patch up for a short term, to just try and help, businesses plan what they want to do. So there was that short term reaction and then addressing that reaction. Phase two then was, once we got everyone furloughed or whatever we needed to do, it was now looking at your vision. So where does your business sit now? Not just from the financial point of view, from a people point of view, and what does that look like going forward? So, a lot of clients said, oh, this home working doesn't work for me, and I don't think we can continue, although I like it in concept because we got too big an office. And my message there was, don't make judgments based on now, because take home working. you've had to do it overnight as a reaction. It wasn't planned, so you haven't been able to structure it. B, your employees are not used to it at all in some cases. So they're transiting and they've got so much going on. For example, if they've got kids and they're doing home learning, there's no way you could judge that as a normal remote home working environment. There's a massive, massive challenge that they're facing. So they're going to be hugely unsettled.
I heard
Plus with,
somebody say, you're not working, this is not working from home. This is attempting to work whilst juggling everything else.
yeah, absolutely, absolutely. It's home working with none of the benefits. I'm kidding. So yeah, it was like, look at the vision holistically and as a whole. Don't just rely on the data you have now, because it's not the right time. And phase 3 is what we're entering now, which is now let's fast forward 12 months into the future, 6 to 12 months. And where do you actually want your business to be? Have you been as efficient and as lean and, you know, as productive as you've wanted to be? Or have you just been in this sort of illusion, plodding along and thinking, yeah, everything's fine? So now it's about structuring your business. And what does that mean from a people point of view? And for me, the big takeaway that really has been emphasized is how you engage your employees. And the super engaged teams who really do care about their employees and are connected have found this transition a lot easier, because the goodwill works both ways. And the ones who are disconnected, I wouldn't call them bad bosses or bad owners or anything. It's just, it's not for everyone. And those who are disconnected have found it immensely difficult, because they've had to change their mindset whilst embracing an employee's new situation, which is really hard. And so our mission now is to really help business owners engage properly with their employees. And we use this as a platform to say, look, the power of engagement now will propel you to new heights when you come out of whatever the new norm looks like.
Awesome, very powerful. I lied. I actually have one more question to ask you.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think you may have entwined this throughout, but I'm just interested. Are there any values or beliefs or ideals that you are really holding you entirely true at this moment?
Yeah, absolutely. I think I've talked about engagement several times, and for me, that is the absolute core of everything we do. So engagement in your team, but engagement with anyone you interact with. But you know, we decided very, very early on in the business that we didn't just want to be an advice service that ticks boxes and complies and helps people comply. We of course do that without question, but there's more to it than that. And we really want to impact the workplace and impact the workforce, because I believe that, you know, people are the absolute fuel of a business. They're going to drive you forward. They're going to market you. They're going to brand you. They're going to be the perception. They are the front line. And if you invest in them, whether it's training, money, time, whatever it is, but more than anything, it's about giving them belief that they're on the journey with you, that you care about them. It's really, really important. So for us, you know, even my own transition when I started building my team, because we opted to work virtually and remote for the majority, it was a real challenge to step into the shoes that I'm advising everyone to step into. And I think that helped me grow and walk the talk. That was really, really important for me. And I think, you know, I'm blessed to have the right people around me as well. Great team, great mindset. But I think, you know, that journey of engagement has started at home. And we've been able to use that as a prototype to help others sort of really get into that mindset. So that's one key value for me. The other one is always remaining ethical. So whatever we do, I believe, you know, we should always do the right thing by people, whether the law dictates it or not. You know, what is the right thing? So take furlough. You know, you have some industries that just can't furlough all their staff, the frontline industries, because it sets a precedent. And then who do you furlough and who don't you furlough? But when you get to a situation where someone genuinely just cannot come into work because their health or because their environment or whatever it might be, even though you're not legally obliged to furlough them, because it's a tool for the employer as opposed to an entitlement for the employee. The right thing to do is to help that employee and stand by them. So the ethics, really, really important. Yeah, and I think the third thing that has always helped me stay true to what we want to achieve is being human. And I know it sounds weird and a very simple thing to say, but whether you're in an interview or a disciplinary or a redundancy or whatever it is, keeping in mind the person opposite you is a human being who's going through life. They've got their own stuff going on, and trying not to be too robotic and mechanical about things. But you've got to deliver bad news sometimes. It's just, that's life. But you can always deliver it in a human manner. You don't have to be a robot. And I think, so those are my 3 values that I think have always steered us very well.
And definitely that last one, the humanness and being a lawyer and delivering the bad news or delivering the opposite side of an argument. It's not as easy actually to do as it sounds, because often, and I also think I'm looking at you, I'm like, this is a people person. This is not a process-driven man. This is you love your people.
Absolutely.
Good thing, because you're in HR, hey?
Happy coincidence.
Happy coincidence. Zameer, thank you so much for being a part of this. How can people get in contact with you if they're looking for an internal, external HR team?
Fantastic. So, I think the best way to contact us is give us a call and visit our website. That will hopefully give you a feel for who we are, what we do. Our team profiles are there as well. Gives you a bit of flavor of the work we've done as well. So the website is simplifyer.co.uk. And then from there, I think it's always nice to sort of talk to the people behind the brand. So, give us a shout on the phone. You can drop us an email at hello@simplifyer.co.uk. We'd love to just have an exploration and see, how we can add value. And once we're out of lockdown, we have promised in our promo video that we will invite you for a coffee. So Joe, you'll be the first one on the list. So yeah, it'll be lovely to sort of catch up with people out there and understand their experiences.
Fabulous. Thank you so much for everybody that's been watching. I hope you're enjoying our SME Insight series. You can subscribe just down here and join us